Hi guys, it's Arielle. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. I hope you guys are all doing well. Welcome back to the last podcast on this channel. I have a lot to talk about in this podcast. I have like 3 weeks to update, a vacation to Étretat. I have your questions. I want to talk about the giveaway winners. I have a lot to share in this podcast. But before we get into it, I do want to talk about the fact that this is the last podcast on this channel, because I think it's the outcome of a problem that I've had for over a year, and it's definitely going to affect the content that I make going forward. So I kind of want to get into it. I want to explain what's going on, because I've also changed the name of this YouTube channel. Basically, when I started making YouTube videos, probably 4 or 5 years ago, the purpose of my channel was to educate other people on France and to help other people travel to France or study abroad in France or move to France. Like, my first few videos were how to get your French visa, how to find student housing, how to make friends. Like, my channel was very focused on the more educative side of France. And then when I moved to Paris, I took I took the same educative approach. Like, I wanted to teach people about the history, and I wanted my videos to be a source of information for people who were traveling to Paris specifically or moving to Paris. And for a long time, at least during the first couple years when I moved to Paris, those were the most popular videos on my channel. And then about a year ago, when I decided that I was going to make YouTube my full-time job, naturally I started making more videos about myself, like vlogs and, I don't know, thrift hauls and transforming my apartment with Jean stuff and asking Jean to be my Valentine, like all these more personal videos that had less and less to do with Paris. And over time, those were the videos that started to become more popular. And I really tried to keep it separate. So on Mondays, I tried to post the more personal content, the podcast, and then on Saturdays, I tried to post the more informative content about Paris. And I really wanted to make that work. But then when I started my weight loss and health journey series, it really hit me that there was a problem, because after I put out the first and the second video, there was around 700 or 800 people who subscribed to my channel from those videos. And I felt bad, because my main content is not about health or weight loss. Like, the main point of my channel was always Paris. It was always about educating on France. And then I was like, the people who are wanting to come to my channel about Paris are going to be disappointed when I post the more personal content, and the people who are here for the personal content are going to be annoyed every Saturday when I post very informative content about Paris. So I really felt conflicted. And so all that to say, I do want to post the Paris and the personal content, but I want to post them separately. So I have renamed my main channel to Arielle in Paris, and I want this channel to be about Paris, to be Paris-focused, France-focused. I want this channel to go back, in a sense, to what the initial point of this channel was, which was to educate about Paris. And then I've created a second channel, which for the moment I've named Get the Margarita. I gotta keep the legacy name. And that second channel is where I'm going to post the podcasts, post the vlogs, post the more personal content, about myself, with Jean, our apartment stuff. And the weight loss journey, for example, is definitely a video that needs to be on the personal channel, but because I started it on the main channel, I'm going to finish it here. But if you subscribed for the health journey and the weight loss stuff, like, again, I will continue to post that just on the personal channel, not on the Arielle and Paris channel. So yeah, and I'm sharing this because starting a new channel is a little bit scary. When you start from zero, you don't have the same creator controls as you do when you pass the 1,000 subscriber threshold. Like, you're limited in what you can do until you become an established channel, which starts with having 1,000 subscribers. So I would be really appreciative if you're interested in the podcast, if you're interested in the more personal content, I'd be really appreciative if you did subscribe. I'll put it on the screen and I'll also leave it linked down below. And I'm really excited. I really feel like I was so blocked creatively. Like, I was just so in between two places. And sometimes I would have these ideas for videos that I wanted to make, either about Paris or about my life. And I was just like, there's no place for them. There is no place for these videos. And it just really, I felt trapped in what I could and couldn't post. And I really feel like this is going to help me creatively and also help me make better content for you guys. So for the moment, I feel like this is the right decision for me. We'll see how it goes. It was honestly so scary changing the name. Like, I was so confident in what I was doing. I made the decision probably last week on Thursday. I lost it because I was making the video on how to read and understand a French menu. And so I was looking at other YouTubers online that had created similar videos. I was looking for maybe thumbnail inspiration or title inspiration. And I came across all of these videos from creators who, I don't know, at face value, didn't necessarily look extremely well produced or as informative, I think, as some of my videos are. And I was just shocked that I was no longer, I guess you could say, like, an opinion leader for travel to Paris or to France. And I was like, no, I was disappointed. And it really hit me because I went and I clicked on all those channels and I looked at their content. And they were all very specific. They were niche content to teaching about Paris, teaching about the French language. Like, it was very clear what their channel was. And then I'm like, okay, you click on my channel. On one hand, you have the weight loss transformation. Then you have a podcast. Then you have an informative video about how to read a menu. Like, it was just all over the place. And in that moment when I was looking for thumbnail inspiration, I was like, nope, that's it. Decision made. I truly have been struggling with this for over a year. Like, I had no idea what to do. And in that moment, I was like, done. Second channel, like, that's what we're doing. And so I was so confident making that decision. But then when it came to changing the name, as soon as I changed it to Arielle in Paris, like, obviously it's Get the Margarita has always been a name that meant a lot to me. It's been my channel since the start. So it was emotional to change. And I might change the second channel name as well, Get the Margarita. Like, I do think it was important to change this one because if I'm going to talk about Paris and if the point is to be clear about the niche of the channel, the content of the channel, which is Paris and France, then I have to include Paris in the name. But I think I would also like to put my name in the second channel as well to make it clear that it's about my life in Paris. But yeah, that's where we're at. So that's why this is the last podcast. This is the last podcast on this channel. I will continue to post podcasts every single week, but just on the personal channel, and the content is not going to change. Like I said, I've always tried to separate it, with Monday being the personal content and Saturday being the content about Paris and France. So I'm still going to do the same thing, just on two different channels. So yeah, I think that's it for that update. Again, I would really appreciate it if you guys followed the second channel. It's always a little bit scary to start from zero. You know, my first channel, this channel, when I was starting, I wasn't posting regular. I was probably posting once every 3 months, but it took me years to get to 1,000 subscribers, like probably 3 years. So I hope it's not that long this time around. But yeah, I hope I hope that works for you guys as well. I know it's annoying sometimes when creators make a second channel. It's just like another thing to follow. So I get it. I get that it can be annoying, but I think this is just what's going to be best going forward for me and for you guys, because I'll make better content now that I know what I'm doing. Oh, and I also wanted to say, I do think that is, I recognize that there's a lot of changes going with my website and itineraries and second channel and who knows what's coming next. But I think that's the fun part of following someone who's a smaller creator. And also it's fun for me too to be able to grow with you guys, because it means that I always get to integrate your feedback into my decisions. And it also makes me a better creator, being able to grow with you guys. So yeah. Voila. I'll see you on the second channel. Okay, next topic on the docket. I did want to quickly say thank you to everyone who entered the giveaway for an itinerary and a little gift for me. I have all the giveaway submissions. I have a list of everyone who want to participate in the giveaway, and I'm going to announce it on my personal channel. I don't know if I'm going to do it in a podcast or in a vlog, because I also want to maybe show the gifts that I'm putting in the giveaway packages. I think it's going to be fun when I go and get them. And also Jean, like a week ago, came home with these little gifts. So there's also gifts from Jean as well that are going into the packages, and I kind of want to show you guys. So I think I'll probably put that in a vlog on my second channel, and I'll be announcing it next week. So you can stay tuned for that. And thank you to everyone who did enter the giveaway. I appreciate that you guys want to win the giveaway, and I got some really nice messages as well. So thank you, and I'm excited. It was so hard because as I'm going through all of the emails of people who wanted to enter the giveaway, I was like, this is so annoying. I want to give something to everybody, but it's just not possible. But yeah, thank you guys for entering, and thank you guys also for supporting the launch. Whether or not you purchased an itinerary or left a comment on the video, like I just genuinely appreciate it. It's been something I was so looking forward to. I have so many ideas going forward. Like this whole weekend, Jean and I would be playing a board game, having lunch. I'd be like, oh, what about this? Do you think this is a good idea? Like maybe we could work on this. And I have a lot of things coming, things that will be posted for free on the website, other sort of itinerary product ideas. But yeah, I can't say enough how much I appreciate all the support in every form. I massively appreciate it. And when it comes to the itineraries, I think in maybe 2 or 3 months, I will send an email to everyone who purchased an itinerary, because I'd be really interested in hearing feedback on how the itineraries worked out for you, and if there was anything you were missing or would have appreciated to have on the itineraries. So if you did purchase one, look out for that. I would absolutely appreciate it even more if you could answer the survey. And if you haven't already, definitely don't forget about the summer meetup that you can sign up for. I'll leave the website and everything linked down below. Okay, all right. Now let's get into a couple things that, oh my gosh, that have happened over the past 3 weeks. So one of the things that Jean and I did is we went to Étretat. I don't know if you guys have heard of this city. I'll put a picture on the screen, because if you haven't heard of the name, you probably have seen pictures of this travel destination, because it is breathtakingly beautiful. As we were driving there, I say this about a lot of places. You guys know this, like Greece, Canada, Paris, like everywhere. I'm like, oh, I want to move here. It was just so beautiful. But basically, there's so many holidays in May in France. It's almost like every week there's a holiday. And we wanted to do a road trip through the south of France, it was too pricey. So instead we decided to do a day trip. I say day trip, but we spent the night as well, to Étretat. And oh my God, that was our first mistake, that we went on a holiday. It wasn't a weekend, it was like in the middle of the week. But we knew that the drive would be longer than normal. We did not know how much longer, because not only was there the holiday traffic, but there was also a bridge that connects you to the highway that takes you to Normandy. Étretat is in Normandy. And so we couldn't get on the highway right away. And so a drive that normally takes 2.5 hours from Paris to Étretat took us 8 hours, okay? It was awful. And the thing is, it's totally fine to do that drive if you're spending a week. But we were spending 24 hours. So the 8-hour drive really ate into our schedule. And poor Jean, like, I don't have a driver's license, so he's the one driving us. And yeah, it was insane. PSA to anyone who is looking to do a road trip to Étretat or a road trip anywhere in France, do not go on a holiday. Oh my gosh, literally never again. But it was, the drive once we got into Normandy was beautiful. Like, you pass all of the cattle farms, and the nature is just this vibrant green with the blue skies, and it was so breathtaking. And we got to Étretat, and this as well, I'd never seen this, because I'd been to Étretat before, like for an actual day trip, not on a holiday, so it didn't take 8 hours. But the cars, because there's one main road into Étretat, the cars were parked along this main road like kilometers away from the city. I could not even understand how people had parked so far and walked into Étretat. It was wild. And so we were so lucky, because the hotel we were staying at had free parking inside of the city of Étretat. So we thankfully did not have to park like miles away. But yeah, so we finally got to Étretat. We checked into the hotel, we went for dinner, and the special part about Étretat is the cliffside that you can hike along. And so we didn't have a lot of time to hike the whole cliffside, but we did go and watch the sunset on the cliffs, which was really nice. And then we got up extra early the next morning, took something from the boulangerie, and did a full-on hike before tourists arrived. So it was really, really nice. I definitely recommend that you guys visit Étretat if it isn't already on your travel plans and you're coming to Paris. I'm going to make a full itinerary video on what I recommend, because I've been twice. The first time I went with a group of friends, and it was nice because the company was nice, but we didn't eat or see the best parts of Étretat, and I feel like I did eat and see and enjoy the better things that Étretat has to offer this second time around. So I'm going to make a video about it just to help you guys if you're planning on going. But yeah, it was also a really nice break. I think like the problem that I'm having with owning my own business and being in this very creative phase is that I can never turn my work brain off. Like I was saying, this whole weekend, I'm like churning out these ideas for the next projects that I want to work on. And so it's hard on Jean as well, because it's not only that I don't turn my work brain off, it's that sometimes I don't focus enough on my personal life, on myself, on my friends and my partner, because my brain is so muddled with work stuff. And so for this specific little 24-hour trip, I decided in advance that I would like cut the cord. I would not go on my phone. I didn't want to do any work on the trip. I didn't want to film anything. That's why we didn't vlog it. I just filmed the clips for my weight loss journey and a couple little clips to help me put together the video that I want to make on the itinerary. And it was like, we were both so excited for this break in my work brain. And then I told Jean that I was going to bring my laptop, because I always like to keep my laptop with me, like, just in case. And I say that out loud, and Jean's whole body like deflates. In his head, I'm sure he was like, no, this girl is not going to edit videos while we're on our 24-hour vacation. And I just like started laughing because I was like, oh man, Jean, no, like, of course not. I'm just going to bring it just in case. So it was a really nice 24-hour pause. And it was also a reminder for me that I really need to work on having a balance and turning my brain off and not needing everything to be so immediate. Like these little ideas that I have in my head, I'm like, these can be done in 6 months. They don't need to be done in 1 week. You don't need to, ruin your life to get this out. But yeah, it was honestly such a nice break. I loved going to Étretat and I love Normandy. If you're also a Normandy fan, please let me know down below. But it's just, it's the colors, it's the fresh air, it's the trees, it's the green air, it's the beaches. It's just such a beautiful part of France. I can't wait to go back. I'm already looking at the next road trip I want to do. I'm so excited. Okay, sorry, my phone ran out of storage as I was filming, so I've lost track of everything that I said that got deleted from my phone turned off. So I'm just gonna back it up to after Étretat because I was recapping other things that happened in the past 3 weeks. And one of those things is my weight loss journey, which is going really well. I have the update video coming on Saturday, so you guys can see more details if you're interested. But I'm on week 9 right now, and something positive for me happened this week. And I think when it comes to talking about weight loss and health in general, like it's, I guess weight loss, it's a very fine line between body positivity and feeling happier once you've lost weight. Like I think it's two very different schools of thought. So I'm going to share my opinion and how I feel about the weight loss journey because this week 9, is the very first time where I looked in a mirror and I was really proud of myself for everything that I've accomplished and where I was like, I love the way that I look. I love the way my jeans fit. I love that I can fit back into summer dresses that no longer fit me. It felt really good. And of course, as well, when you're working out at the gym, specifically the arm classes and the ab classes that I'm doing, you're doing them against a giant mirror. So you see yourself during the entire class. Like you need to make sure you're doing the movements correct. And I just saw myself. I saw the reflection during the workout class and I was like, I just really felt like I felt pretty. I felt beautiful, I guess. And I think it's tough because I don't want to say that our confidence and our value should in any way be linked to losing weight or being skinnier, I guess you could say. But for me, the issue, like the real issue, was the lifestyle and the health. I don't want to say problems, but my health. Like the reason that I gained so much weight was because I was leading not a very healthy lifestyle, and that really affected me because I'm so tall. Like I've always been relatively slim. And so when I saw my body change because I was not as healthy as before, it affected me. And so I am really happy with the results because not only do I feel like I'm going back to the body that I've known my entire life, but that I'm making incredibly healthy choices that are gonna help me live a better life. And so, yeah, I mean, I am really happy with the progress I've made and I can see it in everything I'm doing. Like, it scares me to think about what my diet was before I started looking really at the macros of everything I'm eating, like the sugars, the proteins, the cholesterol, like everything. I really look at it very clearly now, and I make sure that I'm eating a very balanced diet and that I'm not overeating on certain things. And the thing is, because I've always been relatively slim, especially in university, like I was, oh my gosh, I was running all over the place. I had a full-time job. I was studying full-time in school. I had 2 or 3 jobs. I was on so many sports teams. Like I was running everywhere all the time. And so if I was eating unhealthy, you wouldn't know it because I was crazy active. And so over the past couple of years, when I started to become less active, when I got sick, I couldn't go to the gym, it really showed me that my diet obviously made me gain the weight and stuff, but my diet was not healthy. And so it was kind of the wake-up call that I needed to make the changes. And so I am just so happy with where I'm at the moment. It's interesting as well, because one thing that I think schools fail to do is they fail to teach about nutrition, other than saying that you need the 4 food groups. You need dairy, fruits and veggies, carbohydrates, and meat. Like, that's what I grew up learning in school. And it's just so much more complex. Like, I don't think anyone my entire life was like, oh, you need to eat fiber because it helps you with digestion, or you need to eat a certain amount of protein because blah, blah, blah. Like, even I'm not a nutrition expert, but this process is helping me be better to my body. And I love that. I love the results. I love the change. And yeah, it's been going really well. So yeah, I'm excited to share that part 3 video with you guys on Saturday. Oh, this weekend we also finished our balcony. We, again, you'll see this in our apartment transformation video, but we ended up painting things. We added some shelving, some storage. We have our tomatoes and our basil growing, but we have a baby pigeon on our balcony, okay? And it's so zen. It's a little bit annoying, okay? Because the mother bird laid her eggs, or started building her nest on our balcony probably 2 months ago. And we obviously didn't want to scare her. And then once she laid the eggs, we obviously didn't want to disrupt the eggs, disrupt the mother bird. And then the eggs hatched, and these little baby pigeons were living on our balcony because they're under the couch we have. I don't know if you guys remember from our last apartment video, but we have these this couch made of pallets with cushions on them and stuff. And so the birds like built the nest under the pallets, and that's where the little babies hatched and everything. But the problem is pigeons don't fly for at least 4 to 6 weeks. And so the baby bird doesn't know how to fly, not even close. And we looked at the state of our balcony under these pallets. I have never seen so much bird poop in my life. First of all, they pooped all over the cushions. So I had to take them in. I washed all the cushions. But it's just the balcony itself, the pallets are just completely destroyed. I don't even know how we're going to clean it. And we can't even use that side of our balcony. We can't use our couch, even though it's so beautiful outside, because the bird is there. And like when we approach it, it gets so nervous and it like walks to the edge. We're like, oh my gosh, we don't want it to fall. Like, better that it waits, and learns to fly before we start moving towards that area of the balcony. But yeah, this is your PSA. If you also have a balcony in Paris or in general, I don't know. I wish we had put fake pigeons, like especially for our basil and my chamomile. Like, the pigeons love to sit and crush everything and crush the little chamomile before it pushes up. And so what I saw is that we could put like a fake pigeon. So once the baby leaves and flies away and stuff, we're obviously going to clean it. And I'm going to put a couple of fake pigeons on the balcony to try and deal with this pigeon mess. It is crazy. Last week we also did the night at the museum in Paris. Let me know if you also participated and where you went, because there's so much going on in the city. There's so much to pick and choose from. And I've done it a couple times. I've really enjoyed it when I did at the Musée d'Orsay. I felt like when I was there, they had a DJ, they had a bar, everything was open, and it was a kind of a party atmosphere in the museum, which I really liked. I thought that was very cool. But due to the nature of Paris, it's like the city is so popular. There's so many tourists, especially already like in May, that there's a lineup for everything. So we found like the back entrance to the science museum, but when we went to the information desk to like look at the map and the schedule and stuff, there were hundreds of people in line. And this is the science museum, which is on the outskirts of Paris. It's so far. I can't even imagine what the line was like at the Louvre, at the Musée d'Orsay, at the Arc de Triomphe. Like, I can't even imagine. Let me know. Honestly, please let me know if you did participate. I would love to hear what the experience was like. But again, it's like, because Paris is such a popular city, because there's so many people, it's so hard to enjoy events like this, because we got to the Science Museum very early. I was like, okay, we'll eat dinner there because there was supposed to be a restaurant, and we'll get in line. They have a planetarium. We really wanted to see the show that they were doing. And we get in line for the planetarium, and there's only space for 250 people in the planetarium. People ahead of us had already been lined up for an hour, 2 hours, and so we're waiting in line at the very back of this line. And the next show, like it every hour there's a new show. So the next show starts and they let all these people in, and we're still very far from the entrance. And so I walk over to the woman who was managing, I guess, the entrance into the planetarium, and she was like, don't even bother. No way are you getting in, like not even at midnight, because it was going on until I think midnight. And I was like, oh, maybe you should tell people, like we're all waiting in line trying to get in, and if it's useless, like just let people know. But that was the reason we went to this museum. I really wanted to see the show at the planetarium. So we're like, okay, well, we can't go to the planetarium, like let's go see what else there is. So we do a couple other floors. There's like a video game center, which again we had to line up for, and I'm like, okay, cool, Jean will like that, he's big on video games. There's lineups for all the video games. There's no chance you can go, like no way. So we left that area. And then I was like, okay, I'm starving, let's go eat dinner at the restaurant and go see the aquarium, because we wanted the planetarium and the aquarium. That's what I wanted to go to this museum for. And so we take the elevator to go down, and the security guard's like, no, it's closed. I'm like, what? So the planetarium is only accessible to 250 people, and the aquarium and restaurant is closed? Like, what? Why would you make an event if there was like no way that you could hold the capacity of people that would be interested in it? So it was just it was definitely fun. Like, it was a nice night, and it was interesting to discover a new museum. Like, I'd never gone to the museum in Paris before, and it made me feel like I really want to go to the Science Museum when I go back to Toronto, because I do think the Toronto one was much better than the Paris one. But it was a nice night. I enjoyed spending time with Jean, but it was just a reminder that when it comes to Paris, it's so hard to participate in events like this, because they're always going to be insanely busy. Oh, and then another ranty topic. Oh man, I'm sorry for the rants, but it's just something that I'll never get used to, which is the lack of customer service. I've made enough videos on my channel for you guys to get the gist of customer service in France, but it is truly so different from Canada and the US, and it makes it so hard as a consumer, because it's like, I don't want to give you my money, but when every company treats you like garbage, you're still going to need to spend your money somewhere. Like, so you just end up spending money and literally being treated like garbage. And so this specific thing that happened is I bought tickets for Jean and I to go see the Musée Grévin. It's this museum that, it's like a wax museum in Paris, and I needed to put it on one of my itineraries for something. And so I bought these tickets, but I needed a receipt for these tickets. Like, I need a receipt, like everyone does. I need a receipt. And I bought the tickets online. They never sent me the receipt. So I emailed them directly. I'm like, hi, could I just get a receipt for what I paid for? Like, they literally just sent a confirmation email and was like, here's your order number. Like, just show up at the door with this. I'm like, first of all, this is sketchy. Like, I would just love a proof of payment. And they didn't answer my email, so I sent them a message. I sent them a DM on Instagram, and I was like, hi, I sent an email, just wondering if I can get my receipt. Like, is there another way I should be contacting you? And they were like, no, just like wait it out. Our response times are a little bit slow at the moment. I was like, okay. So they finally answer. And they're like, yeah, we don't provide receipts. You'll have to contact the museum. And I'm like, what do you mean you don't provide? Like, you took my payment. You like, as a business owner, it's like within the legal system, the rules. If you're a business and you're selling things, you legally have to give your customers a receipt. It is written in the law. And I was like, what do you mean you took my payment but you don't have a receipt? And they were like, no, can't help you. Go talk to the museum. So I call the museum and I'm like, hello, I just would love a receipt for my purchase. Do you think I could get one? Like, how can we do this? And the girl on the phone was just like, no, we don't give receipts. You'll have to contact the company that you purchased from. And I'm like, okay, so they just sent me an email and said that they don't do receipts and I have to contact you. I have two conflicting opinions here. And she insisted that the museum did not provide receipts. They had no responsibility to do so. And the way that it works when you're talking to someone on the phone in France is if they give you the answer and you're like, okay, well, that's not a solution. Can we try and think of something like an actual solution? They'll hang up. They're like, I have nothing else to say to you. Bye. Like, literally, that's how it goes. So the call's over. I go back to this ticket provider that I purchased these tickets from online and I email them again. I'm like, hi, I just contacted the museum. They said that they don't offer receipts. Could you let me know what the next steps are? Like, I am at a standstill here. And they come back to me again and they're like, yeah, we don't provide receipts. You're gonna have to contact the museum. And I lost it. At this point, I've been waiting for this receipt for 3 weeks, okay? Again, which is illegal. As soon as you make a purchase, you need to have a receipt. And so I call the museum again. I'm like, hi, I understand that you can't give me a receipt. That's fine. I want to send this email as proof to a manager or to someone in the accounting department to show you that your ticket provider, the partner of this museum, does not provide receipts and I need one. Like, I need one, okay? It's my right to have a receipt. And so she gives me the email of a manager at the museum and I send an email, like a very brief email, with the email confirmation from the ticket company, with the actual tickets that they printed out at the museum when I got there for the event, and the email response from the ticket company that said we don't provide receipts. And I sent it to two managers at the museum, and I sent it with the ticket provider, the online ticket provider, CC'd in the email as well. No answer. I resend a follow-up. No answer. I call the museum again, like days later. I'm like, hello, I sent these emails, never heard back. Could you let me know? She gives me another email. I send it to a different manager. I finally get an answer. And she's like, oh yeah, no problem. I'll send it to our accounting department. And I'm like, if it was no problem, why didn't you tell me that 3 weeks ago when I first called the museum? I'm like, all right, okay, at least they're looking at it. A week goes by. We are at a month and a half of me not having a receipt, okay? And so I follow up. I send an email to everybody, all three managers and the accounting, and I called back again and I asked for a specific manager in the operations department. So I have 4 of the museum managers on this email, plus the ticket provider, and 2 days go by. The operations manager answers me, and he goes, yeah, we got your information a week ago. We're still working on it. And I lost it because I'm like, I didn't send you this information a week ago. Like, the way that he wrote it was like, you need to chill. We only just got your information. And I was like, I lost it. I was like, I sent you all this information a month ago. Like, don't act like I'm the one who's being ridiculous here. And so his phone number was in the email. And so I called him and I was like, hi, my name is Arielle. Like, I just read the email that you sent me. I'm a little bit struggling here because I sent all this information actually a very long time ago. I've been waiting for this receipt for a month and a half, and I need it for my accounting. I need it. And no, sorry. No, I apologize for the delay. No, nothing. Not a single ounce of, you're right. We made a mistake. It sucks. This man starts yelling at me at the phone, justifying the delay, saying that their ticket provider doesn't provide receipts and they have a system in place and that he is very proud of this system and that he has put my request in and I'll get my receipt. And I'm like, if you have a system, why did I call twice and your representative said that you don't provide receipts, yet you know that your ticket provider doesn't provide them, and you have a system to provide receipts when they're asked for. And nothing. No answer. He just said, look, if you're not happy with the solution, I don't know what to tell you. You just need to waive the receipt. Hang up. And it's just like, they know. They know that my business, my money means nothing to them. Because they operate in Paris. There are hundreds of thousands of tourists every year that go through this museum. What is one customer asking for a receipt gonna do? They don't care. They don't care at all. And so it's really something that I will never get used to, and it makes you feel so bad as someone who is spending money, like especially when the cost of living is so high, when you're having to be, or at least when I'm having to be very selective with what I spend my money on. It's really frustrating that like companies show this level of disregard for their customers, especially when like legitimately I was in the right. Like they didn't give me a receipt. I legally have the right to a receipt. So the first thing that he should have said to me is, I'm sorry, which is what you would get in Canada. But it's such a challenge. It's like probably the only thing that I still struggle with in France is this lack of customer service on all fronts. Okay, I think that's it for the topics that I had. I'll move into your questions. There's only 3 this week, but they're really good questions. So Brianna asks, how did you create your business model for your website and your YouTube channel? Which I thought was a really interesting question. When I first lost my job, I made a video about it explaining that when I was laid off, as with everyone else in my company, we were given 4 different options. You could find another job internally, possibly in another country. You could look for another job, like just another job in general. You could go back to school, or you could start your own business. So we had 4 options. And for each option, you had to follow a certain amount of steps. And so I chose to start my own business. And in order to have that project approved, because when I started my own business, they did give me like a little bit of a like financial aid to help get me on my way, and they also allowed me to take classes to help with my video editing and stuff. So it was a really great system, but I had to prove that my project was worth it, was like my project made sense. You couldn't just be like, I'm starting a business for whatever, and you had to actually put work into it. So for 4 months, I built a business case, and YouTube's good because you have a certain amount of analytics, so you can prove trends over years. And because my channel was so focused on Paris and tourism and stuff, I could also use the data on tourism in Paris to sort of justify why making content about Paris was, a reasonable business venture. And so that's how it started. It kind of just started with that huge business plan. But the thing is, especially with YouTube over time, and with anything that's online in general, especially as someone like, I am a one-man show, so everything I do, I kind of have to learn and make myself, which is really tough. And so I don't have all the answers, and it does take time for me to learn and grow and better understand YouTube and how to get information out there and stuff. So there's definitely a lot of growing pains, and I didn't have all the answers at the start. I still don't have the answers now. But when it comes to my business model, like I initially started with the research and like looking at the trends and seeing if this was really going to be a good idea or not. I remember when I was going through my business proposal, actually I had a consultant that, like, the company that laid us off had to provide us with consultants to help us with whichever project we wanted, whatever lane we chose. And I remember showing this consultant my business idea and explaining it to her. And she was older, but she was having none of it. She was like, what do you mean you're posting videos on YouTube? Don't you think that's a little bit invasive? Don't you think that maybe you shouldn't be sharing your life online? Like, she was very critical of anything in the online space. So I got a lot of pushback which I think is normal. I do think there are people who are skeptical of anything online. It's like the guy, when I was telling the guy at the restaurant, if you guys, I don't know, it was a while ago, but one of the restaurants I went to, and I explained to this restaurant owner that I was making itineraries that were itineraries and not physical in-person guides. And he was like, no, that'll never work, da da da. Like, I think there is this hesitation to believe in technology, believe in anything online. So, yeah, all that to say, I started with the trends. I started to see what would be a reasonable business venture, what would be successful to post, I guess, on YouTube about Paris. And then from there, it's all a learning process. And I think that's what I'm really discovering. It's like every time I do something, there's so much trial and error that you're going to make mistakes so often. And I think that's the only way that you can grow. It's like for every 5 mistakes I make, I finally get one thing right, and it really works. So, yeah. I don't know if that answers your question, but once the business plan was done, it was all trial and error after that. Fatima says, what can I do if I'm traveling and I'm in an unsafe situation? Example, a guy is following me. Honestly, this question, this question is tough because I actually don't think there's anything that we as women can do, especially in France. I'll tell you about two situations that I had that were really terrifying. One was when I was studying in Aix-en-Provence. I was a student, and I was coming home late at night. I don't know if it was from a library or from a friend's house. Like, I had my backpack with me. I was just coming home, and it was definitely late at night. I want to say, I think I was moving out, and so I was dropping things off at a donation point that you could leave on the curb, and so I was making trips back and forth to donate some stuff. And I was coming back to my apartment around midnight, and I'm alone, and Aix-en-Provence is a small city, and I'm walking down the street, and I swear it was out of a movie. This car, I was in front of a restaurant. I was on the sidewalk in front of a restaurant, and there was a metal barrier, a metal barrier between the street and the sidewalk to protect pedestrians. And it was terrifying because I'm walking, and then I hear these tires screech. And you know in the movies when a car goes really fast and they stop and the back of the car like swings around? And so that's what this car did. It stopped and it was still moving and swinging around because the stop was so violent. And the 2 doors open, and these men dressed in black with like ski masks over their face jumped out of the backseat of the car. Like this is what I'm saying. It was like a movie. As the car was spinning, the doors flew open, and these men jumped out, and they started to run towards me. And I was like, this is the end of my life. This is it. I'm done. There's not a soul around. There's barely any lights. Like, it's done. And my first instinct was flight, okay? And so I remember I, like, hurled myself over this barrier, and I bolted faster than I'd ever run in my life, like, bolted towards the closest house, towards the closest street where I could knock on a door and try and get help. And once I had gotten, I don't know, probably 200 meters away, I don't remember the exact distance, but I realized that they weren't following me, and I turned behind me, and I see what they're doing, and they were trying to break into the restaurant. And they did. I think it was on the news for the city the next day, like they had broken the windows and stuff. And obviously, I was not the target of this robbery. But in that moment, there was truly nothing. If these men wanted to do anything, like kidnap me, whatever, there was 3 of them. One in the front seat, and then the 2 others that came out. Like, there was truly nothing. No amount of screaming, no amount of anything I could have done would have protected me. And that was like a wake-up call to me that I should not be out in a small city by myself at night in the dark if I want to stay safe. And then the other example that I remember is when I was traveling along the south of France. I was with my ex at the time. We went to Nice. And I remember the first thing that was shocking to me is it was in the middle of the day. We were walking down a street and there was a stoplight on one of the streets. And there was this girl on a little Vespa. Not a girl, a woman on a Vespa. And she was wearing a skirt. And so she was stopped at the red light, obviously. And this group of men comes up to her and starts lifting her skirt, like not lifting it, like lifting it like this, like hitting her skirt so that it comes up and that she's completely exposed. And there was 3 or 4 men who were doing this to her at the stoplight. And it took, I don't know, probably 10 seconds for it to register in my mind. And then the light turned green and she was off. But I was shocked that any man thought that was appropriate to do in broad daylight. What do we think would have happened if this woman had been alone at night? Like, it's terrifying to think about, but the problem is when you're one woman and there's a group of men that have malicious, harmful intentions, I really genuinely think there's very little you can do to protect yourself. And it's honestly horrific that anything like this happens. And then on the same trip when I was in Nice, we were walking along the Promenade Anglaise at night. So it was very dark. You just had the lights of the promenade. And I was with my ex, but we passed a group of men, again, like young men. And they were catcalling me. They were snickering. They were obviously making these very rude sexual comments. And I felt terrified being beside my ex at the time, my boyfriend at the time. What if I was alone? Like, what? I don't think that their actions would have remained verbal. So I think truly, if you're a woman and you're traveling by yourself, I would say, like, it's so annoying that women don't have the same freedoms as men, because if you want to feel safe, like, what I would say is, like, I don't think I would go back to Nice and walk along the boulevard at night by myself. I don't think that I would do that because I want to be safe, and just because some men are the way that they are, it's not safe. And so I would always say, make sure you're with a friend, make sure you're with another person. If you're traveling and you're staying in hostels, you can easily find other people and ask other people to go with you on a walk or go with you wherever you're going. If you really have to go somewhere by yourself, like for me in Paris, for example, there's been a couple times where I've been out in the 18th arrondissement and I separate from my friends and I go and I get a bike to go home. I always say, I'm going to call you when I get home. And if I don't call you in 15 minutes, then there's something wrong. Like, if you could just keep an eye on me, I would appreciate that. And so also really asking your friends to keep an eye on you and to support you. And also at that same instance of being in the 18th arrondissement, my friend, who was a man who was 6'5", actually walked me to the bike station because it was in a dark alley where these bikes were. So he walked me to the bike station, watched me get on the bike, and then I could just get out and go home. And then I texted him and called him when I got home. So I think it's little things like that, is asking someone that you trust to walk you home or to at least walk you to a bike station. But honestly, safety is such an important thing to think about. I think when I was younger, it didn't even cross my mind. Like, you think you're invincible when you're young, but as you get older and you see with your own eyes the dangers that there are for women, you become a lot more diligent in staying safe and making decisions that make you safe. So it's good that it's honestly really good that you're thinking about this. It should definitely be in the forefront of your mind if you're traveling by yourself. Okay, and then the last question is from Oscar, and he says, do people in other parts of France can't stand Parisians? Oh gosh, that's so interesting. I wouldn't say that people in other parts of France hate Parisians. Like, it's not a Parisian, like, not everyone has something against Parisians, but there's definitely a type of judgment, a type of stereotype that goes along with being a Parisian, because they stand out in places like the South, in smaller villages. They stand out like a sore thumb, like even in how they're dressed and the brands they're wearing and stuff. And one thing I will say, because Jean is from a smaller coastal city, Fouras, it's a very small city, but it's along the coast. And so in the summer, it might not be an international tourist destination, but it's definitely a Parisian tourist destination. A lot of Parisians have a second home in cities like Fouras. And so on the bright side, they bring tourism and commerce to a small city in the summer, which allows, businesses to make more money. But on the downside, they sort of invade these small towns for holidays, for the summer, and disrupt the status quo, disrupt the regular routine, and make things tough for locals. Like, even when I went to Étretat, we were part of the tourists that were invading this city for the weekend, or not the weekend, but the holiday. And I couldn't even imagine. We were walking around the town of Étretat, and I was like, oh, I could never live here. It was just so crazy. Everything had a line so far out the door. The beach was jam-packed with people. It was, I really felt for the locals. And actually, when we were on our morning hike, we met a couple locals along the trail, and we stopped because we were trying to find a garden, and they came right up to us. They were like, oh my gosh, can we help you? Blah, blah, blah. We had this great conversation, and they were smiles ear to ear offering us help. And it was so different to see locals be so welcoming to tourists and cheerful and eager to help and stuff. So I don't think it's everyone that has a bad perception of Parisians, but there is this effect that I do think some people resent when Parisians leave the city during the summer, during August, and during the holidays, and really disrupt the life for locals during these peak months. But yeah, I hope that answers your question. Thank you guys so much for listening to today's podcast. I know this one was a long one, and I hope I will see you on my second channel. And I also hope that you guys have a really good week. It's very sunny and warm here in Paris, so I hope it's also very sunny where you are as well. But yeah, that is all for today. I'll see you guys in the next one.